Okie doke. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. So today I am going to draw and paint a giraffe. It's one of my favourite subjects, giraffes and zebras. So I'm literally just working from a reference photo that one of my kids took at our free range zoo. I'm just going to get the rough shapes in. His eye comes down like that. And he's got a little bit there. His nose and his brow are about the same length, and his nose, top of his nose comes in line with his nostril. I've got to get more of an angle on there. I can adjust things as I go anyway, which I will do. Oops, a daisy, that will be my dog. Alright, his ear comes out the side here. I will go back and forth adjusting things. I have to shut my door so the dog-a-logs can't come in and be loud. Alright. Okay, so, whoops a days. Just got to bring up my doodah. Where is it? Hang on. Oops. Just got to bring up my YouTube so I can have it on in the background so I can see that my quality's okay. Just bear with me, guys. There we go. And we're sorted. All right, cool bananas. So we get on with it. We get, whoops, I'm not trying not to hit the camera with my head. Proportions are interesting on these guys. They are very oddly shaped. He does have a little bit of a bump there. I've got to move that. I forgot what those things are called on their heads. They've got a special name. I've gone completely blank to what it is. I'll draw the shape of his nose first because that'll help me to precisely put where the eye needs to be. He's got his other nostril comes down there. Then his lip, they've got beautiful big lips. Big squishy lips. Change that to up there actually. And I will adjust shapes. Alright, their eyes are offset. Okay, his ear, whoops, try and get them about the same size, there we go. It's a bit longer than that actually. His ear is about 3/4 of the length of his head, so I need to make his ears a bit longer. And these thingies, these things are like that. Alright, cool. Cool. His eye actually is up close to his ear, or the back of his ear, like that. And it's not that oval, it's a bit more squared off, like that. The back of his ear comes down there. He's got big jowls, so pop his big jowls on. And I'm doing this on watercolour paper. This is, what's it called? On my Fontaine watercolour paper. And it's hot press because I like smooth. So and these guys have got beautiful eyelashes. So part of the fun of drawing these guys is their eyelashes. Beautiful big round eyes. Alrighty. Then his neck comes down here like that. And he's got his mouth a little bit open, this guy. So he's got his bottom lip down here a little bit. Just a little bit open. drop his chin there a little bit. And then come down onto his neck. They've got the cutest faces. They really do. They are just adorable creatures. Come back onto here and get the shape around his nose, because his mouth actually comes back a little bit like that. We'll mark in his spots, or some of his spots, not all of them. Oh, actually I might mark in all of them. We'll see how we go. Get a few of these marks in. And these can just be random shapes. It doesn't matter. Like, they're not exactly like the photograph. You can sort of go a bit wild, and as long as they're roughly sort of similar shapes. He's got sort of little stripy bits coming up here, and then he's got a bony part of his face, the skull part of his face. It's actually quite bony, protruding looking. Then he's got wrinkly eyebrows, which I'm going to paint over all this anyway, but I just want to rough in where all the bits are, so I can have a better guide as to how things are. He's got his crinkly bits under his neck. Might turn that music down a fraction, hey. Oops, I've forgotten how. Of course. Ooh, that's up. There we go. Let's turn it down so it's a bit softer in the background. I like to work with a little bit of music in the background, and I'm using Epidemic Sound, which is royalty free, so free to use on streams and all of that jazz. It's not copyrighted or any of those things, so we're all good. I have to put that in the description-y bit. Okay, and he's got a big stripe coming down there. I usually do these guys side on, so you have the mane and everything else in, but this guy I'm drawing front on. And I don't think I've actually ever drawn one front on, so this is fun. Something a little bit different. And it's always good to try different things. So I'll draw his little ear details. He's going to have dark in there. His fuzzy bits, whatever they're called. His things. His doodahs. I'm just going to erase the original pencil line because I made them way too short. Like that. Righto. Leaving a little highlight there. I see a highlight on that one. And you can't really... Oh, I don't like that eye. He's looking the wrong direction. I think he's just going to have a totally black eyeball on that side, I reckon. Maybe just... And, oh yeah, his eyelids, his eyelashes come down here, like that. And his eyelashes come down there. Righto, so have a sip of my coffee before I get into painting. And we are going to start with his eye. I just need to find a reference for giraffe eyes, because in this photo you can't actually see it very clearly. So I'm going to look up giraffe eyes so I get the shape and colour right. Giraffe eye, because I want to see what they look like. Alright, cool. Okay, so they're just really a solid browny colour. So grab me water, grab me small brush, or my medium small. A bit of cloth, need a bit of cloth. Alright, there's my palette, So I'm going to go a bit of brown, just plain old brown, burn umber, or actually, might go that lighter brown, slightly lighter brown. We'll pop that on there. I'll go darker on his pupil in a little bit. I'll just do, actually, oh, that's the iris. So I'll do the iris that brown, and I'll do the pupil in the middle. So that's just the iris. Get that on there. And I can go back to the main photo pretty much, because can see that pretty clearly. Righto, so I'm going to mix up that sort of colour. I'm going to do a base of a very watered down, that colour, so I'm going to add a little bit of white to it. Want it a little bit paler, so that's like brown and a touch of white. And I'm using, what brown am I using? I'll tell you what brown I'm using, guys. I am using transparent oxide. Transparent bound brown oxide is what I'm using. And a little bit of white. Whoops. A little bit more white maybe. There we go. Make the back of that one pale. There we go, that's better. It's nice and pale. And go the direction of the fur. Try and always go the direction of the fur. And I'm using a very fine brush. Sort of, I've got smaller, but I like to use this sort of a fine brush. So now I follow the fur. I'm just going to work on each of the spots and just get the base layering on him. I want to get, yeah, as much of the base layer in as I can. Come around, oh, yeah. So these are quite light, and then they're darker as you get towards the centre. So there'll be about 3 layers of paint on each of the spots. All going to plan, there should be about 3 layers. And yeah, and as I said, I'm working on acrylic on watercolour paper because I like the smoothness. I like the ease of storability of rather than canvases, because I can keep them in the book and put them in a folder and keep them that way. Put them into those, those plastic sheets that you put in school folders. I can store my artwork in those and store them away nice and safely, flat and evenly. So I like to work on paper, on watercolour paper. Pretty much all of my mediums. Whoops. Even drawing I'll do on watercolour paper, just in case I decide at the end to add a wash or something. But yeah, this is acrylic, but I'm doing it very lightly for the first coat. Very lightly for the first coat. So that was transparent oxide, brown oxide, and a touch of white. So I'm going to mix up a little bit more. Touch more white, there we go. And come around the front here. And anywhere that's going to be this pale tan colour or brown colour, I'll add, I'm going to change that there, I'm going to pop 2 dots. There we go. You can't see any more. His nostril, his mouth is about this. His mouth is about the same colour. But I'm not going to do that just yet. I might make that a little bit paler. So I'm just going to fill in all of these little dotsicles. And come around the front here. That actually comes closer into his neck. And he's got a very dusty fawn colour, or dusty, almost a taupe for his main fur on his body. So that's going to be a fun one to mix. That might be yellow ochre and white to make that fur tone between his dotty bits. And you've got to remember, keep going the direction the fur would go. Keep following in the direction of the fur. That's the plan of attack, anywho. Because I forget sometimes and I'll go sideways and it's like, no, that's not how the fur goes. You've got to go the direction the fur lays, and that way it'll look far more accurate when you're done. And that, yeah, these spots are quite dark towards the centre of them. So I'll build up, like I said, 2 or 3 layers to get them where I want them, colour-wise. Righto. So now I've got to mix up a little bit. Gee, I really need to mix. I need to learn. My flaw is I don't mix enough colour. I need to mix lots of colour. But because I'm so used to it, I can get a pretty good colour match each mix. This one's slightly paler, having said that. Slightly paler, which doesn't matter because it's the first layer. Alright, come down there. Might add a tiny touch more. There we go, that's a bit better. Go over that one. Come down onto this one. So hope everyone's having a lovely day. I've just woken up. It's morning in Australia. It's actually nearly 11 o'clock in the morning. I've had a good morning. Got up, did my housework, and then felt like painting with you guys. Oh, my dog's wanting to get into the art room. I'll let him in a sec. I'll just finish off these dotty bits, these spotty dotties. So come down onto his neck. Okay, I'm just going to open the door and let Bear in. Just bear with me. Oh, come on, Bear. Come on, Baba. There you go, you can come in. He's got his doggy bed under my table. He usually sits with me and does art. Oh, Bear, I know. I know. So I'll fill in these. Just down to the bottom of his neck here. He's only got a couple more dots, one more here. And then I'll start to work on his muzzle, because his muzzle's a lighter brown. So this is transparent oxide brown and transparent brown oxide and a bit of titanium white. And now I'm just going to add more white to it to use it on his muzzle, because I want his muzzle to be quite pale. I'm just going to shut that door because I've got to, actually I've got to, yeah, shut that door. There we go. Right, so go see how pale that is. It's exactly the same colour, just with more white. So it'll keep it unified. If you use similar colours or the same mixes of colours, it unifies the whole picture. It doesn't look disjointed when you're done, like too many colours going on, overwhelming. It keeps it not. If you use the same colours in pretty much every mix, or a colour out of the same mix. So if I was to use transparent sienna in all of the colour mixes, so if on his pale part, when I do the light bit, I'll add a teeny touch of transparent oxide to that, and that'll help unify it with the rest of his fur. You don't want too many jumps in colour, like from browns to reds to the different strengths of colour. Alright, so that his muzzle's about that, he's got a darker patch. I don't need to leave that because it's acrylic, it's not watercolour. I'm so used to leaving patches of fur for the watercolour, not putting the colour on the paper in all the spots, because I'm a watercolourist by nature. That's what I usually do, watercolour or pen and ink. Love ink, adore ink. Just getting into acrylic, and have done it over the years off and on, but I'm really enjoying it, the strength of colour it gives me. So it's good fun, so everyone should give it a try. I'm going to come down here. So I forgot what these things are called, they have a special name, and I'm just blocking it all in, and I'm going to do around the edges with the same colour. Oh, and on the top of his other thingy, is that thingy. The scientific term, that thingy. He's sort of brownier onto his nose, but I will fill that in. I'll add a little bit more white. So I'll take that down. He's got beautiful wrinkles. He's got gorgeous wrinkles around his face that are going to be so much fun to try and draw and paint. I love the wrinkles. I love the eyes on these. Oh my god, they're so gorgeous. They are so adorable. So I'll do this pale colour around the trim of his ears. Excuse the squeakiness of my chair. I need to do up some bolts a bit more, I think. It's a reasonably new chair, but I think I've rattled it loose because I wheel it around everywhere. Okay, and he's got his fatty bit behind his ear. Hello, Ija. Thanks for sharing. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Welcome, LJ, Ija or Elja? Welcome. I'm glad you like it, doll. I'm glad you like it. It's awesome to have you here. Yeah, I love drawing wildlife. I love drawing all wildlife. Right from snakes, lizards, right through to fuzzy worlds of cuteness like this guy. So I'm going to add more white. I'm going to do the inside of his ear. So this is very pale. I've made it like 2 tones lighter. I'm fine, madam. Oh, great to hear. That's great to hear. I'm glad you're well. Okay, and that's darker. This is a dark grey in there, but I'm not going to worry about that just yet. I'm going to come down with that same lighter colour onto his face. Now his face is, to get the proportions and the sort of three-dimensionalness, three-dimensionality, there'll be lots of different tones of greys, browns. I'm just going to do a base coat of this grey brown, not grey brown, this light brown rather. Do a light coat of that. And he's got, oh, I've made a shape problem on his nose, so I've just got to tidy this up. Oops, like that. Oops, then I smudged it, but that doesn't matter because I'll be going over it anyway. Oakley doke. Where are you from? I am from Australia. I'm from Australia. It's, what is it? It's Thursday morning here. And yeah, just enjoying painting for the morning. So whereabouts are you from, Elja? Heading into the weekend and nice and relaxed. Oh, I can see I can go over that. That's almost transparent. It's very watered down. So it's actually, if I can go over that original paint a little bit. Right, so I'm going to add a little bit more white and take that down on. You're Indonesia? Oh, cool. Beautiful. Not far away from Australia then. Only a couple of islands away. Come down and around here. So are you an artist as well? I love meeting new artists and other artists. So this is a very pale mixture of exactly the same colours. Transparent oxide, brown and white. Titanium white. And again, following the direction of the fur. There's going to be lots and lots of layers here. Come up onto his nose. I'll start to fill all of him in actually. It's not like watercolour. I keep forgetting I don't treat it like watercolour. I'm used to leaving the highlights as white, but I don't have to. I can, but I don't have to. I will leave a little bit. I'm going to go around all of these spots. He's quite dark on the edges of his nose, so I'll do that separately in a minute. Fill that in. Okay, so I think his eyes are dry. I have a sip of my coffee. I think his eyes are dry. Whoops. Yep, they're dry. Cool bananas. I'm going to grab a little bit of my burnt umber cobalt blue to make a natural looking grey, dark grey. So I'll use a lot of brown and a lot of cobalt blue. A little bit of cobalt blue, sorry. A lot of brown, a little bit of cobalt blue, and that makes a beautiful natural sort of grey. Cool grey. Dark grey. And you can always, if you want it really dark, you can always add a touch of Payne's grey if you want to. So I'm going to go on to his pupil now. I did his iris brown, and I'm doing his pupil black. So pop that in. Well, it's dark grey. This is burnt umber and cobalt blue to make the pupil the darkest colour. And then I will actually try and add, I can use that in his nostril as well actually. I can use that in his nostril. So I'll do that into here and follow the shape of his nostril around like that. Oops. Me doodar's dingin'. Me dinger's dingin'. See, you can actually see now that's a bit how grey that is, and he's got it. These guys have got blue tongues, which is fascinating. We went to the zoo for one of my daughter's birthdays, and we got to feed the giraffe, as a birthday present. I got her a pass into the zoo to feed the animals, and so she got to hand feed the giraffe, and they have blue tongues. So they came right up to us and ate out of our hands, which was amazing. So I'm going to add this same grey that's in his nostril, just diluted down, onto his muzzle, which is the front of his nose. And then same on this side. Add it quite pale to begin with, and I'll build it up darker and darker as I go. I'm going to take that around there like that, and like that. Around the shape of his nostril, and then he's got that sort of same grey coming down that side. So I'm not quite sure what colour blue I'm going to use for his tongue, but we'll get there. So for inside his ear, this is very early stages, so there'll be lots of adjusting and readjusting of the picture. So I can start to add the grey into the depths of his ear, like that, and then same around here. And the last thing I'll do, which I might even do with my ink, is add the white fur rather than using acrylic paint, because it's not quite, it's a little bit transparent, it's not quite opaque. And I sort of want his eyelashes and everything and the hair on the edges of his ears to be opaque. So come around there. I'm going to go the first layer around his eyes in this light grey, and I will build it up to a dark, almost black. Because I like to, because I put it on lightly first, then I can see how it looks and adjust from there. He's got a ton of wrinkles and he's got a blue tongue. So I'm going to give him his blue tongue, but I'm going to make it a really dark blue. So I'm going to go blue. Maybe I'm going to add a touch of brown. So I'm using ultramarine blue with a touch of burnt umber for his tongue, just to make it a really dark blue grey. You can only just see it. It's almost the same colour as his nostrils, but it does show up into there. Doesn't even look like his tongue, it just looks like a shadow in his mouth, so that's actually fine as well, it doesn't matter. See you, madam, I will breakfast now. Absolutely, enjoy your breakfast, have a lovely day. Have a lovely day, it was wonderful to meet you. Enjoy your breakfast, oh. Alright, so I'll go onto the grey. That same grey that was in his ear. Oh, a little bit more diluted. I need some more water in there. So I go up onto his thingies, onto his antlery doodahs that aren't called antlery doodahs. They do have a name. I need to Google, so I'm calling it by the right name. I do know what it is, but for the life of me I can't remember. Because they are darker. Now I can work around. I've got to be careful. I've got to not put my hand in it. Take care, Elja. Thank you, mate. Thank you. Okay. And I'll pop all of that into the ears and around the edge there. Alright, so let's have a look. Have another sip of coffee before I dip my brush in it by accident. Okay, so I'm going to go darker into his nostrils. So I'm going to go really dark burnt umber, cobalt blue. Oops, a little bit more blue. Might even use a bit of indigo in there. And come down here into the front part of his nostril. I'm just going to darken up this edge of his mouth. You probably won't even notice this from... I notice it. Anyone else probably isn't going to notice it, but just darkening around the edges. And right at the back of that corner. Darken up in the centre of his ear, right where it joins onto his face. I mean, I can add the final dark shadows at the end. Okay, now I'm going to add a little bit of Payne's Grey just to that mixture for his pupil again, just to darken that up a little bit more. A little bit too browny, so I need a little bit of Payne's Grey in there. All right. Now take that grey around the outside of his eye as well. Oops, that is not working, is it? Got to get a bit more on my brush. I haven't got quite enough on my brush. That's a bit better. And then his eyelashes come down there. Like that. Can leave a little bit. Around the edge of his eye, I've got the wobbles up. I've got the wobbles. I like trying to keep a straight line. It's like, no. Follow around the edge and come up here. Like that. They really do have beautiful eyes, these guys. I've got to make more of an angle on this top eyelid. There. Sort of goes more up on an angle like that. All right. So now I'm going to go in. This is where my watercolors, I've got a beautiful color called Transparent Sienna. It's one of my favorite colors to use. So I'm going to go a bit of red oxide now. I think it's red oxide. Yep, that's red oxide. And I'm going to add a little bit of that onto his muzzle with a little bit of the brown in it. Touch of white. And come down onto his muzzle and start to build this up just a little bit. And take that right round, and then at the end I'm going to put tiny little whiskers on here. He's got a bazillion little whiskers on his nose that are so cute. So I will be adding those in. They come right around the edge of his lip and then down in that direction. So again, following the direction of the fur. The way the fur goes is the way you run your brush. And then he's actually got a dirty grey chin, so I will dirty that up in a little bit. Right. Because his muzzle and his mouth and mouth area are a little bit darker than the rest of him. Around that side. Now I don't know what colour background I'm going to give him. I still haven't decided. Haven't quite decided because he's going to need a background. I've got to darken up around here and around his wrinkly bits. Draw his wrinkles in. He's got lots and lots of face wrinkles. They're so cute. I'm going to take them, they just go around his eye like that. And then around here like this, same. Lyndall Seaton, good morning, Jen from Western Australia. Hello, Lyndall, how are you, doll? How's your day? Welcome, welcome. Oops, I got a bit too much water on that. How is your day, doll? I'm going to go a bit of red-brown oxide. Whoops, that's burnt umber. Oops, a daisy. Pressed all, I put my thing in all the wrong doodahs. So go burnt, that red, transparent red oxide, that's the one. Transparent red oxide. And a little touch of white, I reckon. A little touch of white. So we're going back to the base colour. Love your giraffe. Thank you, thank you. I love drawing giraffes. I love painting giraffes. I love zebras and giraffes. Are probably my two most favourite. Because I love the patterns on them and they're just gorgeous animals. They're absolutely gorgeous animals. There's, you know, there's just so much to love about them. They're everything. They're, what's the word? They're quite magical. I just love them. So how's your day going? What time is it there? Because it's 10. It was a time difference because we have daylight savings. It's 11 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. So got up and did all my housework and then really felt inspired to paint with you guys. I googled the horns on a giraffe. For you, they are called ossicones. That's the one. Oh my gosh, I never remember it. Ossicone. Oh, I'm a silly duffer. Thank you for that. I don't know how many times that word just, I knew that word, but it just doesn't stick in my head. I have the memory of a sieve. So you're an artist as well, Lyndall? Or just enjoy watching? I love all things art. I love every kind of art. Digital art, traditional art, painting, drawing, you name it. I love it. Abstract I can't do to save myself, but I love watching people do abstract. But yeah, I'm predominantly a wildlife artist. I do a lot of wildlife. I just love painting and drawing animals. 9 already. Did the kid drop off and having a bit of a brekkie. Nice. Nice. Yeah, my kids are all grown up now. They're in their mid-20s. So all grown up. Excuse my dinger-dinging. My dinger's donging. I haven't had brekkie, but I'm having coffee. Coffee's my brekkie. And nearly the weekend, yippee-i-o, Kaye. Love weekends. Even though I do all the same stuff. I don't do anything different. I just paint and draw. And paint and draw. And paint and draw. Okay, he's got to have, I'm going to go a little bit more of this. I'm going to start building up around his face. I've got to get a bit of this brown onto here. Yeah, because I knew there was a time zone difference. I just wasn't sure what it was with the daylight savings. Sort of throws me off a bit. And there's so many people in so many parts of the world. I try to keep track, but can get a bit confusing sometimes. Never don't know whether to say good morning, good night, depending on who's in chat. So it's darker coming down here. I've got to try and remember to follow the direction because the fur on his face goes sideways on the top of his face. So pop that down here. Where's my dog? Oh, he's back in his doggy bed. Yeah, I'm not sure I would call myself an artist, but I have a red hot go. Good, that you're an artist. If you're creating, you're an artist, mate. Watercolour is my weapon. Oh my God, I love watercolour with a bit of gouache. Maybe a collector of art supplies. Love it. Ha ha! Yes, me too. Me too. Oh my word. Yeah, I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. My favourite mediums are watercolour. Secondly, pen. Well, first and second pen and watercolour. Pen and watercolour together. And yeah, I'm doing it. I've just started acrylic again. I haven't done it for a long time. And I'm sort of treating it a little bit like watercolour. I'm finding it's sort of a habit that's hard to break. Once you get into the habit of how you use watercolour, it's not a bad habit to have because it does help you in all mediums, I've found. Even digital. Watercolour helped me with digital. So just by the layering and everything. So it's amazing where it comes into use. But I do tend to do this quite thinly. I should be a bit braver with my thicknesses and all of that jazz. But yeah, I'm definitely a collector. Throw my brush away. I'm definitely a collector. I have shelves and shelves, about 40 years of supplies. I have my very first watercolour brushes. I've still got everything. I don't part with anything. And there's so many watercolours to collect because there's all different brands and they're all lovely. Have you got a favourite? I love Schminky. Love Schminky for watercolour. And a bit of Sennelier. If I'm doing flowers, I love Sennelier. I've got a little bit of Daniel Smith, but it's not my kettle of fish. This is acrylic. This is actually acrylic, but I'm treating it like watercolour because I'm confident. I still haven't broken the watercolour habit. So yeah, this is acrylic. So this is Matisse and Golden acrylics I'm using because it's the next best thing. I just wanted it something a bit more opaque, a bit stronger that I could play with. Yeah, I do find that I treat acrylics like watercolour. I do it thin layers and build up and build up and build up. I've got to do the shadows under there. So I'm going to start to go darker into his neck now. Darker down here, and he's got lots of wrinkles. Actually, that's not dark enough. I need my burn umber. Bit of burn umber in with my red oxide, transparent brown oxide, sorry. Maybe a touch of blue. Take that down the direction of his fur. Oops. And down onto his neck. And he's actually got a line coming down his neck that I'll add in. Take that down the front of his neck there, then onto this one. It's going to be fun to try and add the furry details on this guy. Not quite sure how I'm going to approach it, but we'll get there. And yeah, so this is layer number 2. Layer number 2. I'm actually going to add another one here. He needs a couple of patches down the side of his neck. So pop them in. Oops. I'm going to add the dark line. I'm going to make that dark grey. I've got it actually muddy up down here. Get him a bit of chin fuzz. Because he does have a little bit of a furry, weary, beardy bit. Like that. Right, have another sip of my coffee before it goes freezing cold. Yummy. Okay, let's have a look. I'm going to go back into this pale colour just behind his eye here, because that eye's looking a bit flat, needs a bit of a shape about it. Around there, that dips in down there, so I'm going to add a bit of that grey to the brown. So I'm mixing all the colours in together so they unify. So I've added a bit, oops, that's probably too much, but it doesn't matter because it's a shadow area. Like that. Oakley doke. I'm going to go back in with, I've just got to touch up that eye a little bit, the pure pigment. It'll dry back a bit paler. There we go. So now let's have a look. Where do I work? I'm going to work around the eye. So I'm going to go in with a bit of grey. Going in the direction of the fur. Try and add really fine lines, these fine wrinkles. I'm just using the very tip of the brush. The very, very tip. The finest bit. And then on this one, same. All right. And he's got all different browns and greys on that bit on the front of his head. So I just keep bringing those greys down onto his face. Keep bringing those greys down onto his face. All right. From the direction of the fur. And that's burnt umber cobalt blue for the grey on his nose. Just very diluted. All right. Down to his nose. He's starting to get a little bit of dimension about him, a little bit of 3D. Takes a little while, but when you start to get there, it's awesome. The paintings always go through an ugly phase. Like the drawing looks fantastic, and then you get to the, oh God, this isn't going to work. What the hell have I done? And then it looks good again. It's like there's all these phases of painting, and it's like you get to a panic spot where you think, oh my God, isn't that ugly? And then you come through that and it's all good again, which is, we've just hit ugly, I think. We've just got to get through this ugly bit and be brave and just keep going, keep pushing forwards. Get his little brown bit that's on his nose. Come around here like that. So got a little bit of grey coming down the front of his eye onto his nose, or onto the ridge, brow ridge. What's that bit called? That ridge, the ridge below his nose. At the moment, my ever expanding Roman small is my one of choice. Ooh, but I'm partial to all of them. I need to force myself to mix them up a bit rather than sets. I love working in sets, Lyndall. I keep mine in sets. I don't mix them all together. I've got my other palettes. I've got hang on. I've got like 7 of these palettes, and I've got each brand in each palette. So I've got my, which ones are these? I don't even know which one's which. So these are my schminkies, and yeah, I have all of mine in all of their, I keep them together in their own palettes, and I'll just bring out 2 or 3 palettes at a time and jump around. I do use Senelia and Schminky quite a lot together, but yeah, I store them in their own palettes. The only paint that I don't use with other paints is my Artist Spectrums one. I use them on their own because they've got, I don't know, Art Spectrum has got a whole different texture to everything else. I use a couple of Daniel Smiths together, but with the Senelias and that, but not a lot. My favourite, oh, I haven't got my Daniel Smith ones handy, but yeah, I work in sets. I like me sets. But yeah, the only one I don't mix up with other paint is, yeah, Art Spectrum, because I find it's a bit gritty, a bit grainy, a bit stronger, bit of a different makeup. Because the Senelias and the Schminkies, I think, are both honey based. I know Senelia's honey based. I think Schminky's honey based, but I couldn't swear to it. So they work well together. They work really well together. I may be wrong there though, but I know Senelia's honey based. And it's got a beautiful glow to it. Oh my God, it's gorgeous. And I've got the Russian ones. What are they called? I've gone completely blank. My brain stopped braining. I've stopped braining. They're named after a place in Russia. And they're quite lovely. But they're very strong. They're a bright, vibrant sort of watercolour. And because I do a lot of wildlife, vibrant doesn't really work. When I'm doing flowers, they're good fun though. I thought I had different paints for different things. I do have different brands for different things, for different work. So what's your favourite subject, Linda? What do you like to do? So I'm just working my way down and I'm building up the darker layers in the fur now. Just trying to get it to look like there's varying tones in the fur going down all the spots on his neck. So it's going through all the browns and it'll work its way back to a sort of a grey colour. I've never tried the Roman small. Never tried them. Must admit, I hadn't heard of them until today, until you mentioned them. So I'll have to look them up. Because one can never have too many watercolours. Alright, so I've sort of blocked in. I've got to go around the ear. Not as a line though, I've got to do it as little brush strokes going the direction. You don't want hard lines because animals aren't hard lines. So come around the edge there. The direction that the fur would be. Whoops-a-days. Whoops-a-days. So go back to the transparent brown oxide. Bit of cobalt blue. Make some more of that grey. I've got to Google the name of the Russian paint now. I've completely forgotten. It's, hang on, Russian watercolours. Named after a town, watercolours in Russia. Oh, St. Petersburg. That's the one, St. Petersburg. I love them. Totally forgot the name. Just going to try it. I've got the wobbles up. Whoops, today's doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. We're trying our little lumps and bumps onto his ossicones and fur texture. Alright, doesn't matter, I've got a little smudgy bit there, but I'm going to put a background on so you won't even see that. Famous last words. So now I'm going to work into the darker areas. I've really got to turn off those notifications, don't I? Won't happen overnight, but it will happen because you keep hearing a ding-a-dinging. So I've got to go around that nostril. And do tiny little dots. Actually, I won't worry about that just yet. I won't worry about that just yet. I'm just going to do this grey around the bottom of his throat because he's got his wrinkly bits around his neck as well, which I have got to add. So I'll put the initial ones in. They come right round. And then I'll do the shadows under them. That's a line that comes up and around. Oh, it's like my children, it's hard to pick a favourite. White Knights Russian. Yes, 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 yes. They're lovely. I really enjoy them. I take them away with me when I go anywhere on holidays. The St. Petersburgs come with me because they're just handy. Very handy. And they're a good all-round paint, I find. So have you got a favourite subject you like to paint, Lyndall? All right. Into that dark bit under there. It'll fade back a little bit. And I'll be going over that with a little bit of white to soften it. All right, I'm going to go a little bit of yellow ochre here. I'm going to go a little bit of yellow ochre and a little bit of white. Pale it right off and just go around the edge of his lip. You can barely even notice it, I don't think, but I'll know. I know, so... Yeah, I think I have the three favourites. Yellow, Schminky, Sennelier, yeah, Art Spectrum. They're my three favourites, my absolute favourites. But if I had to choose, I couldn't live without. They're the ones I'd pick. I'm going to add a little bit of this yellow ochre in, here and there. Take it down his neck. So it's yellow ochre and white, just to add a bit more variation into his furry bits. And over the top. Excuse me for just a second. I'm just going to turn my washing machine off. It's unbalanced and it's annoying me. I've got to turn it off. Right. Problem solved. Sorry about that, guys. I just had to turn off the washing machine because it was making dinging noises at me. Problem solved. Lucky it's in close proximity to the art room. So I thought I'd multitask and do art and washing at the same time. Yeah, don't do that. Avoid housework while arting. Alright, so come down here. Oh, that's my Pippi dog. Being rather loud. So I'm going to add a bit more white to this and dilute it a little bit more, coming down into the middle of his neck. So I just want to blend it. So I'm just adding a bit more water. Blend that down there like that. Come down there. A bit more yellow ochre again. Excuse my doggos, I might shut the door now. Got people coming and going. It's a busy old day here today. I think people coming and going and all kinds of stuff and craziness. All right. So I've added a little bit of yellow ochre everywhere. It's a little bit of yellow ochre, a little bit of white. Can bring it up under this side part that you go in the direction of the fur. See, I did it again. I accidentally nearly went the wrong direction. Got to go up and down, not sideways. Come up under here, under his chin. Righto. So, getting onto darker brown. I should add the background, but I'll do that last. So I'm going to go a bit of burnt umber this time, bit of cobalt blue. Whoops, daisy, too much blue, love. Okay, I've got to get a bit less blue than that. So I just move it across the palette and mix it that way. Okay, and whoops, add this darker browny grey onto this side, onto the shadow side of his neck. And just take it down the shadow parts of the spots on that side and start to darken those up. Whoopsie-days. My brush is a bit fuzzy-wuzzy. Doesn't matter though, it's furry. I've got fur sticking out. It's not a problem. So just come down middle parts of these spots. Like that. I don't want it everywhere. And then down the bottom of his chin, I reckon. Like that. And then into the very front of his whiskery bit on his nose, which I'm going to add little furry textury parts onto his nostril, onto this part of his nose here. I'm going to add fur at the very, very end. For the moment, I'm just filling in all the different tones. It's darker up there, like that. Okie doke, having a quick look. Got to darken up the top of his ossicones. And that one's almost all in shadow on the back, so I've got to add a bit of, mix up a little bit of purple for the shadow colour on the back. I will. I've got to add a little bit of blue grey. So I'm going to mix up a blue grey and clean my palette a little bit. She's got a bit messy. Give that all a wipe over, get rid of all that paint and start again. Mix up some nice fresh paint. Rightio. So mix up a blue grey. So I'm going to go a very pale blue grey, I think. So I'm going to go blue. Try it with a touch of white, just the blue and the white, so a very pale blue. Like that. And we'll come into the shadow areas with this, under his wrinkles. Probably needs to be more purple, to be honest. I'm going to make up the purple. I'm going to go blue and red. So I'm going to add a bit of red to it. Because shadows are purpley coloured. So that's a very dark purple. So blue, red and a touch of brown. Just to earth it up a bit. There we go. And go back in with that in the shadow areas. There we go. That's a better shadow colour. That's much better. Under there. Coming down that side. And I'll use this shadow colour. I like natural things. Landscapes still need more practice. I am so not good at landscape. Animals, of course, since they're natural things, I feel like they're more forgiving. Yes, I love natural colours. I'm not good at vibrant and bright. I've had to really force myself to work on flowers and things because the flowers are so vibrant and so unusual. I tend to work in browns, greys, greens. I love a landscape, but I'm not real good at it. I need to practice a lot more on my landscapes, that's for sure. But yeah, earthy colours are much more forgiving. I've only got a handful of brights. I've got 2 reds. The rest are browns and greys, and browns, blues and greens, pretty much, and I mix everything else. In my watercolor, I've got one watercolor set that I've bought pinks and vibrant colours to do flowers with. But yeah, I don't own many. I had to go out and buy them. More to collect. Actually, one of my friends here, Aurora, who I do draw some with every week. She's just bought some beautiful fluorescent acrylics. And I'm like, oh my God, they look so cool. Like so vibrant and amazing. I'd be too scared to use them because they're just way bright, but they look amazing. I'll pop a link to Aurora's channel below later. I've got to do all that after. I don't know how to do that before I stream. I do it after I stream. I've got to figure that out, hey. This is like my third live stream on Twitch. On YouTube, sorry, YouTube. Mixed up my channels then. Because I've been streaming over on Twitch. I've only just started streaming here. I think I've done a couple about a year ago, but now I'm focusing back over here. Oh, that's my bear trying to get back in. But yeah, so this is, I've got to get used to doing all the things. All the things. Putting links and things. Because it's a bit different to what I'm used to. Oh, Bear. I have to open the door and let him in now. Come on, Bear. Come on, Bear. There's my Jack Russell. One of my Jack Russells. I haven't heard of Jack Russells. Oh, you're going to come and say hello? Can you come and say hello to everyone? Oh, this is Bear, people. Say hello, Bear. This is, whoops, I've got to get back in camera. There's my Bear. He loves a cuddle. And he always does all the arts with me, don't you, Bear? Whoops, it has, he got your foot there. There we go. Yeah, he does all the arts with me and spends all day with me, don't you, buddy? Yes, my little fella. Good little doggo. You pop down there. Now he's got his doggy bed under my table. But yeah, I think the natural colours are much more forgiving. Got to go under this eye with that purple. Oh, and here comes Pippi. Pippi's my other Jack Russell. She lands on my lap though. I don't pick her up. She has to come. She has to pick me up. She has to choose. She chooses to be cuddled or not. But Bear's always a cuddler. I'm gonna come down onto his nose. So I'm taking this shadow colour, sort of around most of the places on him. I'm going to do the background shortly. Got to get into the background. I've got to do more on here too. I've got to add a few little brown flecks coming down here. I'm going to go back into the transparent brown oxide, dilute it, and strengthen it up just in spots. He's got little spots coming down here. Not many of them, just a couple. Just a few. I'm going to give him a sky blue background. I'm going to work on that now. I'm going to have a sip of my coffee and get on my sky blue background. Or, what colour background am I going to do? Is it going to be sky blue? Go a bigger brush. Probably a good idea. What colour background am I going to do? I might do pale blue. Very pale blue. This is a pretty blue. I'm not even sure what colour this is. What colour is this? Very pale blue. Light phthalo. This is. It's a light phthalo blue and it's very pretty. So I'm going to use this for the background. And just take it around. I'm not going to do it right to the edges. I should have taped. I didn't. Should have taped around the edge. Alright, so just take that right round him. I sort of like to leave, you know how I like to leave it a little bit rough around the edges so it's sort of not just squared off. I do the backgrounds sort of unfinished. I like unfinished backgrounds, unless it's a proper full scape, but when I'm doing a proper wildlife scene where there's herds of animals, I'll do a proper background and leave it and do it full. But for something like this, just a portrait, I do an unfinished background. Like I would do with watercolour. I don't fill the whole page in. I like the sketchy looking, drawing looking quality to it. And it makes the colours on the giraffe pop a little bit too, which helps. Around there like that. So I quite like that. It just really brings him forward. Just nicely. I think. Alright. come right in around the edges. Yeah, the music I'm listening to too, guys, is Epidemic Sound. It's a royalty-free music site. I use it for all of my editing, filming, even background music when I'm working. It's just really nice. I'm just listening to what's it called? This one's called Beats. It's all different, just rhythmic pieces of music. Alright. So come right down around down his neck. Come right down the sides. Mix up a little bit more. So this is light phthalo, what is it? Light phthalo blue, this colour. It's just gorgeous. Not a natural sky colour, but I like it as contrast for his fur. And yeah, I'm doing this on hot press watercolour paper, even though it's acrylic. So this is my Fontaine hot press watercolour paper. It holds up really, really well to acrylics. Really impressed. I usually use Arches. But yeah, I'm trying out the Fontaine because it's in handy books with these binders that I like. So I can remove a painting when people want to buy it or not. And leave it in if they don't, and it's stored safely. But I don't have to take it, cut out pieces of paper, which is the only downfall for the other brands. So you've almost got to always cut the paper out, pull it out, store it another way. I like these binder books. And my art supply store wonderfully sells them. All right. Okay, it's going to go over a couple of bits. I don't know whether to add a darker blue. I won't. I don't think I will. I'll just stick to this light blue around the edges like that, and keep it a bit softer around the edge. Righto, clean the brush. I've got to let that dry for a fraction, so I have a sip of my coffee. Because I don't want to put my hand in it, so I do the other. Actually, I'll grab a bit of cloth. I can do that. Grab a bit of cloth, and that can protect my painting for me a little bit. So now, what am I going to do now? Now I've got to add the furry bits. So I'm going to grab a really fine brush, a really fine brush, after I've mixed some colour up. Because I need to mix the colour before I grab the brush, because otherwise it's not big enough to mix colours with. So get a bigger brush and mix colours. Cloth. Okay, so what colour am I going to mix up? I need to mix up almost, actually I need to almost go with the brownie, like a very pale, almost white brown. So I've got some white on my doodah, on my palette, aka doodah for anyone who's wondering. Anything, if I forget a word, it's called a doodah. So I'm going to add titanium white and a touch of transparent brown oxide, just a touch, because I still want it to be very, very pale, because it's going to be his whiskery bits. So get my very fine brush now, load her up with pigment, and just do tiny, tiny little dots of fur on his muzzle. And it sort of goes all over, everywhere that even that I've added the greys. I'm just going to add these little dotty bits, like that, right over his nose. We want all the furry bits. You can't really see that. My camera's a little bit blurry and I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what's happened there, but okay, and then I'm going to come around his nose a bit, his nostril. Come around here, like that. Just lighten up that bottom edge of his nostril. And I've left the white of the paper as the white of his eye, and I'm now going to take this grey this very light brown grey around the trim of his eye. He does have a little bit of a highlighty bit there on his bottom eyelid, like that. He is a bit lighter here, I've just noticed, so I might add some light back in here. I can add some lights where I've lost them, and it's the beauty of acrylic, as you can go over things and re-put whites and lights if you've lost them. But this is a very pale, sort of fawny colour. It's white, it's titanium white with a touch of brown oxide. Just a little touch. You know what I've got to do? I've got to actually darken. I've got to darken this back edge of his eye, because eyes aren't just one colour, they're masses of different colours. So I'm going to go a bit of brown, get me burnt umber, and I've got to take that, oh, not that much on my brush, ooh, that was close. That was close, peeps. And then come into the edge of his eye here. I'm even going to make up a bit of a purple. Just a teeny little bit of a purple for his eye in the shadow areas. You can barely even see it, but oops, stay off the white, love. There we go. Just around that edge of his eye, that's a bit better. Right, I'm going to use that same purple again into his mouth. Around the edge of his mouth there, like that. Alright, so he's got his furry dotty bits down there. Now I've got to get back onto his fur, into his ears. Whoops, daisy. Not really the finest brush, is it? Hang on, I'm going to get me really fine brush. My scary fine brush. They've got brushes ranging from normal fine to scary fine. So I'm grabbing my scary fine brush, which is a size 2 zeros. It's itty bitty. My itty bitty brush to get into the furs on his ears. Again with this pale colour. I might even use a little bit of pen on this just to help me, because I don't mind mixed media. I do love mixing me stuff up. So go into this little part of his ear. So it's not bright white. It's off white. It's sort of, yeah, it's a little bit of brown in with the white. Even this brush isn't really fine enough. I need an itty bitty one. I need to go even itty bittier, but that's okay. We'll just go around the edges. But it starts to bring him a little bit more to life. And go this brown colour under his eye at the back here. Because I don't use it too thickly, it does dry very quickly, because I've already got my hand in the background, and that was done like 2 minutes ago, not even. So I'm going to go back into me transparent brown oxide. And I've got to take that around here a little bit. And then a bit around there, like that. I'll add fairy bits over the top. I can actually even that can help to look like, what do they call that? That's got a name. Where I'm instead of doing white, I'll add white over the top, but I'm leaving little gaps where I'm going to put the white. Relief painting. So I'm leaving doing the dark, but the white's coming, the lighter colour underneath is coming to the foreground. I'm going to add dark here. I've got to go that purple. I'm going to go into that purple around the shadow areas, around here on the back. And on the back shadow area of this ossicone. His ossicones, like that. There we go. So that made that pop just nicely. So those little touches is what makes things pop. Tis it is. Let's have a look. Go into his nostril. Around the edge of here. And into there. Having a quick look. Seen him on the big screen. Righto, I've got to do the fur on his neck. So I'm going to go this pale colour again. And do little furry lines. Very subtle. Into all of this fur going down. I need to blend that, don't I? Alright, just going to grab a bit more of that light colour onto my brush. And take it down. All the way down his neck. You can barely even see that. You can barely even see it, but I know, but it just softens out that edge. I had a bit of a hard line happening there. I'm just adding a little bit of fur texture here and there and everywhere. Yeah, I don't want any hard edges if I can help it. That's almost transparent, but I'll just do that little wash there. Add a bit light up here. I'll go the next size up brush, I think. That's a little bit small for this bit. Oops. Get a bit of white on my brush now. Bit of pure white, titanium white. Like that. I'm just adding in any of the highlight areas now. So we're coming to the final sort of stages of it, guys. Add highlights back in that I've lost here and there. That helps to make things stand out. So yeah, titanium white for this bit. Like that. Look a bit down there. Come down here. Like that. A little tiny bit there. There. Anywhere I can see a light, slightly lighter tone, I'm just touching it with the white now. Around that top edge of that lip, very gently. A few little dotty bits around. Righto. And now onto the ears. Try and get these fairy bits into his ears. Like that. Oops, that didn't really work, did it? You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to grab my white pen. I have a beautiful white pen that I like to use for such occasions. It's a, oops, and I'll drop my doodah in my thingy. And it's a Uniball Signo white ink, and I love it. And for just this sort of thing, I can add the littlest highlights back in, and the fairy bits on his ears, like that. It's a little bit around his nose. Touch onto that eye, back into that eye where I lost a bit. And we are just about done, I reckon, guys. So I'm going to call that, I reckon. I'm going to sign him. That's not going to work. I'm going to sign him with my brush. I'm going to go blue acrylic, I mean to say. I'm going to sign him down here. And I am going to call that pretty well done, guys. So thank you so much for hanging out. I will be back tomorrow with another piece. I have no idea what I'm going to paint, but I will decide tomorrow. So thank you for hanging out, everyone. Yeah, it was fun hanging out, painting with you all and drawing with you all. Have an awesome day, and I'll see you tomorrow, probably around about the same time, guys. Have a great one. Take care, and thank you for being here.